Something has cracked in the world of basketball wives, and this time it's not just petty drama, it's personal. After the Vegas trip that was supposed to bring the ladies closer, all hell has quietly broken loose behind the scenes. Jackie's relationship with Chantel, her own daughter, is now at the center of an emotional storm, and Britney is caught in the middle. Sources close to the cast say what started as an argument has spiraled into something much deeper, a confrontation that's left friendships hanging by a thread, and family ties barely intact. While Jackie maintains she did nothing wrong, insiders are claiming the tension between her and Chantel has only grown worse since the group returned from Vegas. Whispers suggest that the wounds cut deeper than anyone expected, and fans are beginning to question whether this feud is about more than just one explosive night. The real shock: Jackie's refusal to show remorse has reportedly pushed Britney to the edge, forcing her to confront the emotional toll of feeling abandoned. Not just by friends but by someone who was supposed to protect her, with emotions running high and loyalties being tested. The group is reeling from a fallout that seems far from over. Buckle up, because if what we're hearing is true, this family rift might just change everything. Things were already tense after Vegas, but no one expected the emotional earthquake that would follow. The group had hoped that time away together would ease the friction, offer clarity, maybe even heal some old wounds. Instead, it lit a fuse. What started as an uncomfortable dinner has reportedly evolved into a full-blown feud between Jackie, her daughter Chantel, and Britney, leaving everyone shaken and unsure of what lines have been crossed and whether they can ever be uncrossed. According to people close to the production, Jackie left Vegas convinced that she had handled everything with grace. She returned smiling, taking selfies, even joking about how intense the trip had been. But that smile didn't sit right with everyone, especially not with Britney, who had apparently walked away from the same trip feeling emotionally drained and deeply hurt. Insiders say the two hadn't spoken since the last dinner in Vegas, and Chantel, caught between them, had retreated into silence. It wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was a breakdown. Those who witnessed the final dinner describe a moment that changed everything. Jackie, in a heated exchange, reportedly spoke in a tone that Britney found deeply disrespectful, not only to her, but to Chantal as well. Some claim she cut them off mid-sentence, dismissed their feelings, and waved off their concerns like they were minor inconveniences, while Jackie insists she was simply defending herself. Sources say the emotional tone in the room was anything but light, and Chantal, who had remained quiet through much of the trip, was visibly shaken. The fallout didn't take long to spread. Once the ladies returned to law, conversations began circulating among the cast. Jennifer, who had tried to stay neutral throughout the Vegas chaos, was reportedly the first to reach out to Britney. They had a quiet conversation at a cafe in Beverly Hills, away from cameras, away from noise. Britney, according to someone who overheard them, broke down in tears. It wasn't just about Jackie snapping in Vegas, it was about years of feeling like her presence in the group was conditional, tolerated, not embraced. Chantel, meanwhile, stayed off social media entirely. Her silence was deafening. Fans noticed she didn't post about the trip. No behind-the-scenes clips. No comments on cast photos, nothing. Some started speculating that she was distancing herself from the show altogether, but others believed she was regrouping, processing everything that had happened between her and her mother under the spotlight of reality TV. Brandy, always observant, started voicing concern during a spa day with Jennifer and two newer cast members. She said she'd noticed a pattern in Jackie's behavior, how she can be protective one minute and dismissive the next. Brandy didn't say it with malice. She said it like someone who had seen too many women silenced under the guise of tough love. Jennifer nodded, saying, "I think Jackie's heart is in the right place, but her delivery, it can be brutal." One of the newer women, Ty, reportedly asked, "Has she always been like this with Chantel?" Jennifer's answer was simple: "It's complicated." The production team, sensing the depth of what was unfolding, scheduled a wellness check-in at a boutique recovery lounge in the Valley. The idea was to create a space where the women could talk, decompress, and maybe open up without the pressure of an official filming day. But when Jackie arrived at the lounge, full of energy and positivity, it immediately rubbed some people the wrong way. Britney, seated quietly by the window sipping lemon water, looked up and reportedly froze. Her smile vanished. She turned away. Sources say she later told a friend that seeing Jackie walk in like nothing had happened felt like being slapped in the face. She wasn't expecting a dramatic apology, but some acknowledgement would have gone a long way. Instead, Jackie greeted everyone with hugs and jokes, bypassing the tension like it didn't exist. Chantel arrived late. Her energy was different, not angry, just cold. She didn't make eye contact with her mother. When the group began settling into their 4 drips and vitamin shots, production gently nudged the conversation toward Vegas. That's when things took a turn. Jennifer asked, softly but directly, "Do you think that was okay? How everything went down?" Jackie, caught off guard, replied, "I didn't act any type of way. Thank you for bringing it up, but I didn't do anything." To her, Chantal stiffened. Britney, clearly emotional, looked down at her lap. The tension in the room thickened. Jackie continued, saying she had every right to defend herself, and that if Britney took it personally, that was her problem. She claimed she had sat with her thoughts since Vegas, and the more she reflected, the more she realized she hadn't done anything wrong. She even joked about having a 24-hour window to process conflict, after which she moves on. But Britney hadn't moved on, and neither had Chantel. The real fracture happened when Jackie said something that many interpreted as the final blow. She claimed there were boundaries that should never be crossed, especially when it comes to family. And in the same breath, she accused Britney of coming between her and Chantal. That's when Chantal finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but it hit hard. She said, "You think I chose her over you? No. I just didn't choose your behavior." Everyone went silent. Jackie stared at her daughter, confused, then defensive. Chantal continued, "For years, I've let things slide because you're my mom, but I'm not a kid anymore. I see how you dismiss feelings when they don't match your own. And I'm tired of pretending that's okay." Britney, visibly holding back tears, nodded slowly. "I didn't want to come between you two. I wanted us all to feel safe in that room. But I didn't. I felt small. I felt like I didn't belong. And I'm done trying to force my way into something that doesn't have space for me." Jennifer reached over and gently placed a hand on Britney's arm. Jackie exhaled sharply and leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "So now I'm the villain. The woman who brought everyone together, who's had everyone's back since day one. I'm the problem." Chantal didn't answer. She didn't need to. The weight of the silence spoke volumes. Outside the lounge, fans had already begun speculating. Leaked footage from the 4 session hinted at rising tensions, and fan pages were flooded with posts dissecting every word. Hashtags like #CHANTEL speaks, #Justice for Britney, and #Jackie called out began trending. The viewers, once divided, were starting to take sides. Production decided not to air the full confrontation immediately. Instead, they teased clips across the network's social media, using somber music and slow fades to highlight the emotional stakes. The marketing team labeled it the most raw episode of the season. And for once, it wasn't a fight about loyalty or love triangles. It was about family, and the hurt that runs deepest when it's inflicted by someone who's supposed to love you unconditionally. For Jackie, the backlash was swift. While some defended her as a mother doing her best, others accused her of using tough love as a mask for emotional avoidance. A few even questioned whether she was ready to see Chantal as an adult woman with her own voice, rather than just her daughter. Britney, on the other hand, was flooded with support. DMs, comments, fan edits, all calling her brave for standing her ground in the face of someone so commanding. The group, once again, was fractured. But this time, it wasn't over petty gossip or miscommunication. It was about trust, boundaries, and a deep ache that couldn't be undone with a simple sorry. And while Jackie may have walked in smiling, she left that lounge knowing something had changed. Something that might not be fixable. Jackie didn't say much on the ride home from the lounge, but those close to her say she was unusually quiet. For someone known for her fiery personality and quick comebacks, her silence spoke louder than any outburst ever could. Insiders claimed she went radio silent that evening, skipping her usual group texts and avoiding phone calls from producers. It wasn't embarrassment, it was something else. Something heavier. Maybe disbelief. Maybe hurt. Or be hurt. Or maybe she was finally starting to understand that this fallout wasn't going to disappear with one dramatic speech or a sit-down dinner. Meanwhile, Chantal returned home to a wave of messages, some supportive, others invasive. Fans flooded her social media, praising her for finally speaking up. Some shared their own stories of strained relationships with parents, saying they saw themselves in her. Others warned her to be careful, knowing how quick reality TV can twist narratives. But Chantal didn't post. Not even a quote. Not even a song lyric. She was choosing silence, and that silence was loud. Britney, on the other hand, took a different approach. While she didn't directly address the confrontation, She did post a single photo, a close-up of a journal, and a mug of tea, captioned, "Peace feels earned." Within hours, the comments section was filled with heart emojis, and words like "proud of you" and "you don't deserve what happened." For the first time in a long while, Britney wasn't being called extra or dramatic, she was being heard. And that changed everything. Backstage, production was buzzing. Meetings were being held to decide how to handle the storyline. They knew they had something powerful, something that wasn't just drama for ratings, but real, emotional weight. The idea of staging a group retreat began floating around. Something where the women could be forced into conversation again, under the pretense of healing. But it would be anything but peaceful, especially not with unresolved wounds still open. A few days later, Jackie reached out to Brandy, not through a public message or a call on speakerphone. Just a quiet lunch request. Brandy agreed. They met at a low-key spot in the valley. No cameras, no glam teams. Just two women sitting across from each other, sipping tea. Jackie reportedly opened with, "Do you think I was too harsh?" Brandy didn't answer right away. She let the question hang in the air. Then she said, "I think you were you. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe people expect more softness from you than you're willing to give." Jackie leaned back, exhaling. "I feel like I'm being made the villain in my own family." Brandy nodded slowly. "Sometimes it's not about being a villain. Sometimes it's about how people experience your strength." Jackie said nothing. She just stared out the window. In that moment, Brandy saw something rare in her doubt. Not weakness, just a crack in the armor. And for the first time, Jackie didn't try to defend herself. She just listened. Word of the lunch reached the others quickly. Jennifer texted Britney the moment she heard. Apparently, Jackie's asking questions now. Britney read the message and replied with a simple, "Good." That night, and for the first time in weeks, she slept without anxiety twisting in her chest. The next week, production sent out formal invites for the group retreat, a private estate in Malibu, surrounded by hills, ocean views, and plenty of space to breathe. Confront. Everyone was expected to come, even Chantel. At first, she declined. She told producers she wasn't interested in performing for anyone, not even her mom. But after several phone calls, and one heartfelt message from Britney, she changed her mind. Not for Jackie, for herself. The retreat started quietly. Slow check-ins, awkward smiles, fake small talk. Jennifer, Brandy, and Britney stuck together. At first, Jackie arrived late, dressed in all black, sunglasses on, lips pressed tightly. She didn't hug anyone, just nodded and sat alone near the pool. Chantal arrived last. Her entrance wasn't dramatic. No tension-filled music. Just a soft breeze, her head held high, her steps steady. That evening, the women gathered around a bonfire. Production had encouraged an open-circle conversation, hoping to guide things toward resolution. But emotions don't follow scripts. As the fire crackled, it was Britney who spoke first. "I know we all came here because there's stuff we're not saying, and I don't want to waste this space pretending everything's okay." She turned slightly toward Jackie. "I was hurt. And not just because of what was said in Vegas, but because it felt like my feelings didn't matter. Not to the group. Not to you." Jackie looked up. Her jaw tightened. But she didn't interrupt. Britney continued, "I get that you're strong. That you've been through things, but strength isn't shutting people down. Sometimes it's listening. Sometimes it's just showing people they're seen." The group was still. Even the ocean in the background seemed too quiet. Jackie finally spoke. Her voice softer than anyone expected. "I felt ganged up on. I felt like everything I've done, all the loyalty I've shown, was forgotten in one dinner." Chantal looked at her, eyes wide but calm. "This isn't about what you've done. It's about how you made us feel." Jackie's eyes flicked toward her daughter. "You think I don't care how you feel?" Chantal took a breath. "I think you care on your terms. When it's convenient, and I think you confuse being loud with being right." That stung. Jackie sat back, rubbing her hands together. For a long time, no one said a word. Then Brandy leaned forward. "Look, none of us are perfect. We all hurt each other, sometimes without meaning to. But if we can't call it out, can't own it, then what's the point of even being in this group?" Jennifer nodded. "This was never about picking sides. It's about protecting peace. And that means not letting stuff fester." The fire popped, as if on cue. Jackie looked at Britney, then her voice broke just slightly when she said, "I never meant to hurt either of you. But I see now that I did, and for that, I'm sorry. It wasn't the most eloquent apology. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. And sometimes, that's enough. Chantel. Single quotes S. Eyes glistened. Britney reached out and squeezed her hand. Jackie wiped her cheek with the back of her palm. No dramatic music. No slow claps. Just silence. And the sound of something beginning to heal. Not fixed, not solved, but healing. The rest of the night was quiet. No one forced conversation. They just let it breathe. A group of women, tired but trying, slowly reclaiming the space between them. And for the first time since Vegas, it felt like maybe they weren't just a cast again. Maybe they were becoming a family, one painfully honest moment at a time. The next morning brought with it an unfamiliar calm. The ocean breeze drifted through the open windows of the Malibu estate, and the women moved slowly, their footsteps light, their energy muted. There were no harsh words. No awkward silences. No sharp glares exchanged over mimosas. Instead, what lingered in the air was a quiet sense of reflection. They hadn't solved everything, but for the first time in weeks, they'd all finally paused long enough to hear each other. Jackie was the first to rise. She moved through the kitchen in silence, boiling water for tea, stirring in honey with slow, thoughtful movements. It was clear she had barely slept. The night before had taken a toll. Not just the confrontation, but the realization. She'd spent so long trying to be strong, unshakable, untouchable, that she hadn't noticed how her walls had pushed people away, even the ones she loved most. And now, with Chantel's words echoing in her mind, she couldn't pretend to be unaffected anymore. Chantel entered moments later. She didn't say good morning. She didn't reach for a hug. She simply walked to the counter, grabbed a mug, and poured herself a cup. She stood next to Jackie, not close enough to touch, but not distant either. The silence between them felt full, not empty. Finally, Jackie said, "I don't know how to fix all of it, but I want to try." Chantel's voice was even steady. "I'm not asking you to fix it. I just want you to stop pretending like nothing happened." Jackie nodded slowly. "That, I can do. Elsewhere." Britney sat curled up on a patio lounge chair, blanket wrapped around her shoulders, coffee in hand. Jennifer joined her quietly, handing her a second throw. They sat without speaking for a while, just listening to the waves. Eventually, Britney whispered, "Last night felt real." Jennifer nodded. "It was." Britney looked down at her cup. "I don't want to go backwards." Jennifer replied, "Then don't. Protect your peace, even if it means being the one who steps away." Brandy arrived shortly after, barefoot, holding a tray of fruit and muffins. She flopped down beside them with a deep sigh. So, did we just have an actual breakthrough on reality TV, or am I dreaming? Britney let out a soft laugh. "I think we all just got tired of pretending we're okay when we're not." Brandy nodded, biting into a muffin. "Well, whatever it was, I'm glad. Because if I had to sit through one more fake brunch with forced smiles, I was gonna lose it." The peace in the house was new and delicate. Even the newer women felt the shift. Denise and Ty took a walk around the garden, their voices low. Denise admitted she felt torn, wanting to support Chantel and Britney but unsure where she fit into the deeper emotional web. Ty said, "Sometimes, support doesn't mean taking sides. It just means standing next to the person who's hurting." Denise nodded. "Yeah, but I also don't want to be silent when silence feels like agreement." Ty placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then don't be. Speak with love. That's all any of us can do." Later that day, production invited everyone to a final group session on the lawn. No theme, no agenda, just a chance to reflect. Together, under the open sky. The women formed a loose circle on blankets and cushions, sun on their faces, wind in their hair. The setting was serene, but the emotions were anything but. Jackie spoke first. "I thought strength meant never breaking, never backing down. But I'm realizing, maybe strength is admitting when you're wrong." She looked around the circle. "I know I've been hard. I know I've said things that hurt, but I'm not proud of that. I'm proud that I'm still here, trying. Chantel followed. "I've always seen my mom as the strongest person in the room, but I've also seen how that strength can sometimes turn into silence, or walls. And that's what I want to break through. I don't want perfection. I just want honesty. Even if it's messy." Britney took a breath before speaking. "I've carried so much weight, trying to be accepted, trying to be understood. This trip, it showed me that I don't have to beg for a place at the table. I belong here, and I won't shrink anymore to make other people comfortable. Jennifer, wiping a tear from her eye, added, I've seen so many seasons of this group tear each other down, and I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending we're sisters one minute and enemies the next. I want real connection, not reality TV connection. Brandy, laying back on the blanket, chimed in. I just want us to stop performing. We don't need the perfect apology or the perfect moment. We just need to stop lying to ourselves about how much we've all been affected by what's happened. The sun moved slowly across the sky as the women talked, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, but never interrupting. For once, everyone listened. After the session, the women drifted into smaller groups. Jennifer and Chantel walked the perimeter of the estate, talking quietly about boundaries and healing. Brandy and Ty prepared a snack table, cracking jokes, but keeping the energy light. Britney, surprisingly, sat beside Jackie on the edge of the deck. The silence between them wasn't tense this time. It was thoughtful, Jackie said. I didn't realize how much pain I was causing just by holding back. Britney looked over. That's the thing. Silence can hurt just as much as words. Sometimes more. Jackie nodded. I'm sorry. Britney didn't respond with words. She just gave a small smile. And that was enough. That evening, they gathered one last time for dinner. The table was set with candles, soft music played in the background, and the conversation flowed naturally. There were no arguments. No side comments. Just connection. Real, earned, delicate connection. As the night came to a close, Chantel pulled Jackie aside. I meant what I said last night. This isn't about you fixing everything. It's about you showing up every time. Not just for cameras. For me. Jackie's eyes filled with tears. Then that's what I'll do. I'll show up. Even when it's hard. They hugged. Not for the camera, not for the show. For themselves. The ride back to Los Angeles was quiet. Britney sat by the window, headphones in, a peaceful expression on her face. Jennifer leaned back in her seat, scrolling through photos from the retreat. Brandy hummed softly, her head against the window. And Jackie, seated beside Chantal, looked out at the hills, her hand resting gently on her daughter's. They weren't perfect. They weren't fixed. But they were finally facing the truth. And for a group that had spent years dancing around conflict, that truth was more powerful than any storyline ever could be. Back at the network offices, editors were already working overtime. They knew they had something different this time, something deeper. The promos would tease tension, sure, but the heart of the story would shine through. This was no longer about petty feuds or forced reconciliation. This was about the hard, painful, beautiful journey of breaking cycles. And while no one could predict what the reunion would bring, or whether this fragile piece would survive the next confrontation, one thing was clear: the fallout had been real. And in the middle of it, these women had finally started the work of becoming something more than castmates. They were becoming real women with real stories. And the world was finally seeing them that way too. The ride back to Los Angeles wasn't just quiet, it was sobering. Each woman sat with her own thoughts, letting the winding roads and soft hum of the van settle their emotions. The silence wasn't awkward this time. It was reflective. It was the kind of silence that follows something honest, something heavy, something real. No one spoke much, but the looks exchanged between them said enough. Maybe for the first time, they were all truly seeing one another, not as characters in a reality show, but as women with bruises, stories, and silent battles. Once back in the city, the group dispersed. No after-parties. No late-night gossip sessions. Everyone needed time. Chantal returned to her apartment and lit a candle she hadn't touched in months. She sat on the couch with her legs curled under her, scrolling through old photos, pictures of her and Jackie, some smiling, some not. Her eyes lingered on one from a family trip years ago. She couldn't remember what they were laughing about, only that it had felt real. And now, for the first time in a long time, she wondered if they could ever get back to that. Jackie went home to a quiet house. She hung her coat, kicked off her shoes, and sat down in the living room, alone. She didn't turn on the TV. She didn't scroll. She just sat there, letting the silence speak. She thought about the words she hadn't said. The moments she'd brushed off, the people she'd pushed away in the name of strength. It was only now that she realized how lonely that strength had made her. Jennifer got on a call with production the next day, expressing how moved she was by the retreat. She said she hadn't felt that level of emotional honesty from the group in a long time. And while she wasn't sure if it would last, She hoped the network wouldn't reduce it to a few soundbites or clips edited for drama. It meant something, she said. We were finally real. Brandy posted a photo the morning after, just a shot of the ocean from the estate. No caption, but the comments poured in. Fans could feel the shift too. This season hit different. No one expected to cry during an episode of Basketball Wives, but that's exactly what they were doing. The response online was overwhelming. Fan threads were filled with quotes from the retreat, side-by-side edits of Jackie and Chantal, long paragraphs from viewers sharing how the episode made them confront their own mother-daughter relationships. The producers leaned into the moment. A special was quickly greenlit, or follow-up one-on-one sit-down between Jackie and Chantal. Not staged, not scripted. Just two women in a quiet studio, talking. When the shoot day arrived, both women were nervous. Jackie, always poised, kept fidgeting with her bracelet. Chantal sipped water constantly, as if buying time between thoughts. The crew stayed silent, respecting the wait in the room. Jackie began, I spent so long trying to protect you from everything that I forgot to protect you from me. Chantal blinked quickly, trying not to cry too early. I know you love me, Mom. But love that doesn't listen. It starts to feel like silence. Jackie reached out, her hand trembling just slightly. I hear you now, and I want to keep hearing you. The clip aired the following week and went viral, not because of drama, not because of betrayal, but because of its rawness. Viewers praised Chantal's clarity, Jackie's vulnerability, and the show's willingness to give space for healing instead of chaos. It was a rare moment in reality TV where nothing was exaggerated in, yet it felt like the most emotional scene in years. Meanwhile, Britney had been taking time for herself. No major posts, no interviews, just peace. She declined several offers to appear on talk shows, telling her manager, if I say anything, I want it to matter. When she did finally speak, it was on a podcast hosted by a close friend. She said, people see a few minutes of our lives and think they know everything. But what you didn't see was all the nights I questioned whether I even belonged in this group. That retreat didn't solve it all, but it reminded me that my voice matters. And I'm not going back to shrinking myself. The reunion taping was approaching fast. Everyone knew it was coming. And though producers were hoping for fireworks, most of the cast felt something different this time. There was less focus on exposing receipts, and more on confronting what hadn't been healed. In prep meetings, Brandy said, we can still be real, without destroying each other. Jennifer added, if we're gonna talk, let's talk like grown women. Not like we're auditioning for the next season. Still, tension remained. Not everyone had healed. Not every relationship had been mended. There were still side conversations, lingering grudges, old wounds waiting to resurface. But the difference now was that the women were willing to name it, not bury it. On the day of the reunion, the energy backstage was different, quieter, more focused. The glam was still their stunning gowns, flawless makeup, hair laid but behind. All that was reflection. Jackie and Chantal arrived separately but shared a quiet moment in the dressing room before going on stage. Jackie looked at her daughter and said, no matter what happens out there, I'm proud of you. Chantal replied, I'm proud of us. When the cameras started rolling, the reunion opened not with shade, but with a highlight reel of the retreat, the tears, the breakthroughs, the silence around the fire. The audience was silent, emotional, and as the host began asking questions, the women didn't dodge. They didn't deflect. They leaned in. They leaned in. Jackie admitted she was still working on being a better listener. Chantal said she was learning to forgive without forgetting. Britney shared that she still struggles with feeling out of place. But now she knows that her story matters just as much as anyone else's. And the rest of the women, they backed them up. No eye rolls, no mockery, just nods. Real ones. What stood out most was how much had changed since Vegas. Not just in dynamics, but in the way they spoke to each other. Slower, gentler, still honest, but no longer sharp just for the sake of entertainment. The reunion didn't end with a fight. It ended with applause. Not from the crowd but from the cast themselves. When the cameras cut, the women hugged. Long, real hugs. Not for the cameras. For themselves. And though no one promised perfection, there was a mutual understanding that something deeper had begun. Something built not on storylines, but on shared pain, accountability, and the will to grow past it. Outside the studio, fans were already reacting. Threads lit up. Clips circulated. People called it the most emotionally intelligent reunion the show had ever aired. And for once, the cast wasn't trending for being messy. They were trending for being honest, and as the sun set on that chapter of their story, the women walked away not as enemies, not even just as castmates, but as women who had finally learned to see, and maybe even heal, the cracks between them. They didn't just survive the fallout, they transformed through it. And the group, forever changed, would never be the same again. And maybe that's exactly what they needed. The dust has finally settled, at least for now. After weeks of tension, raw confessions, and emotional confrontations, the women of Basketball Wives have shown a side fans rarely get to see. Behind the glitz, behind the shade, behind the viral moments, what we witnessed was something painfully human. A daughter standing up to her mother. A friend finding her voice. A group of women realizing that growth sometimes looks like grief. From Vegas blowouts to Malibu healing circles, this journey has been nothing short of transformative. Jackie, once seen as the glue holding everyone together, now faces the challenge of holding herself accountable. Chantel, often quiet and in the background, emerged as a voice of clarity and courage. And Britney, who's long been misunderstood, found strength in truth, and in silence, reminded the world that being vulnerable isn't weakness, it's power. The fans saw it, the cast felt it, and the show may never be the same again. But one question still lingers: can this fragile piece survive the pressure of what's next? Is the healing real, or just another pause before the next storm? Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe Jackie's apology was genuine? Has Chantal stepped into her own light for good? And is Britney finally getting the respect she deserves? Tell us what side you're on, what moment hit you the hardest, and what you think is still unresolved. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. And if you don't want to miss what happens next in this ever-evolving story, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. Because when the truth comes out, the fallout gets reland. We'll be right here breaking it all down with you.